With all due respect, that's a bunch of malarkey.
9:07, 7 past 9, hour number one of the Bruce and Dan show, who are in for Don and Roma, which makes us what, John?
Jake and John on
John,
WLS.
Yeah. John Cass, Jake Hartford. John Cass, you read him in the Tribune, page 2, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, the Cass Plan.
That's the Cass Plan, and I'm glad you do it. And, you know, if you ever want to call and talk about anything in the column, just be my guest. If you want to rip me. If you want to say something like, you're too mean to Rob.
There is a lot of stuff we're going to get to this morning, and there's a lot of stuff we're not even going to be able to get to.
Like the Jenny McCarthy story.
But just remember this, all the real good stuff tomorrow morning starting at 6 o'clock on Awake with Jake with me right here.
Yeah, because, Jake, you're going to save all the good stuff for tomorrow. I just get the crumbs. I get Jake's crumbs. Thank you.
Last night on my Facebook, actually there's two Facebooks.
You're two-faced?
Yes, I am. I was live commenting on the debate, the Pittsburgh Tennessee Titan NFL game, which was on,
right,
and then the Yankees Orioles, which was on. And I was watching all three.
What was the consensus on the tightness of the cheerleader outfits in the?
There was none of that.
Okay,
but there was almost 300 comments throughout the night from me and everybody that was following this and that, whatever. It was just and a big consensus.
Did you use spell check? Did you use spell check?
No.
What was the consensus on the debate? Because listening to radio, not WLS staff, but and announcers, but network people, you get the sense that they were so excited. They were so happy.
You were talking about the ABC people that Bruce and Dan had on this morning?
I was trying to get, I'm such a wuss, I didn't want to mention it. But yeah, they were like so, it sounded happy. They thought Biden did so great. Did he do so great, Jake?
From what I've heard, if you listened to the debate on radio,
which I did,
it was Biden. But if you watched, it was Ryan.
I listened to the first part of the debate because I was coming home from a soccer game. Lions Township Soccer defeated Argo, by the way. And then I listened to the first part, then ran inside and watched the second part. And I got to TV around the time they're talking about Iran, and Joe Biden's laughing. And I thought, because I thought he had won. I thought Biden was winning. And then I look and I see him laughing and mugging about nuclear Iran. And I thought, is this funny?
He was doing that all night.
Yeah.
And I watched the first 15 minutes solid, and then I had to go to my other duties of also, commenting, whatever. But three things. Number one, the laughing and the smirking. The way the camera angles were set up, and I was switching around the different channels.
Yeah.
The angles were weird because when they did the split screen with Ryan and Biden, they weren't looking at each other. They were like looking to this, like the sides of the set. Like I'm looking at my floor to see what are they staring at in my house. Right. The camera angles were weird, and when they were doing the split screen, Biden was doing a lot of laughing. Now, when I first saw it, I thought that's the kind of facial thing you would do, like if your opponent stepped in it, said something you're going to pounce on, but he kept doing it. So then I'm thinking, is it because it's a nervous effect with him?
Or is he borderline personality disorder, and there's really another Biden in his body?
Well,
which is what I thought.
Or was he trying to do it just to disrupt Ryan?
That's what he's trying to do.
I mean, it was weird. It was really weird.
Do you remember the Al Gore sighing?
Yeah,
that was like scary because Al Gore was kind of like split.
It was very distracting because I was trying to listen to what they were saying to try because you want to because you kind of know a lot of stuff. You want to see what they're saying about it. And that was distracting. That was number one. Then number two, Martha Raddatz. When did she become a candidate on one of the tickets?
I tweeted at John_Cass that Ryan was debating two people, the old man and Martha Raddatz, because it looked like she was running interference for.
I mean, say what you want about the debate last week between the president and Governor Romney. At least once Lair kind of put it what the subject was, and I thought they had like this big formal thing yesterday where it's going to be so many minutes, this, that, whatever.
Right.
But say what you want about that debate. At least Lair kind of backed out of it and let them, Romney and Obama go back and forth on the different things. Last night, it wasn't like that. She was sticking her nose in on stuff, saying stuff, this, that, whatever. And that was number two. And then the number three, Biden was talking a lot over when Ryan would try to answer. He would just like talk over him. There was that one little period where they're talking about the Medicare and who signed on to the plans, and Biden kept making comments. And it got very off-putting. It was almost like this wasn't a debate. This was like the Jerry Springer show, and I was waiting for Steve Wilkos to come out and restore order in the place.
Like who's the baby's daddy? But in the, we're talking about it as middle-aged guys, grown-ups talking about politics. My sons, who were juniors in high school, were watching it with us when we came in, and they basically said that Biden reminded them of Grandpa Simpson. That it was one of them said he's doing a Grandpa Simpson when he was, mugging and being angry and lecturing. And you'd think, how did that affect young voters? Young voters get an earful from their parents every day, and he kind of looked like a lecturing, hectoring dad. Telling them to,
I may be in the minority on this. I don't think Biden won. I don't think Ryan won. I don't think Raddatz won. I just think the losers were the American people. Because you're talking some big issues, and there wasn't time to just explain. They're talking shorthand.
Look, is Iran, and we'll get into this later on, but is Iran a funny thing? Because Ryan's talking about Iran and Obama's failures in foreign policy and a nuclear Iran. And here's Biden laughing, mugging, shaking his head, laughing again. You'd think he'd turn to him and say, is a nuclear Iran funny, Mr. Vice President? Because that's what he was showing with his face.
Here's what you have to watch for when the presidential debate, the next one comes up on Tuesday. If the president's side sees this thing with Biden, sees that it worked, all this laughing and smiling and worked, will Obama try that? That's what you have to look forward to on Tuesday, to see if that's what they do. Anyway, we're going to take your calls, 591-8900. We have a lot we're going to get to. It's John and Jake in for Bruce and Dan, who are in for Don and Roma. But right now, it's 9:15, time for 89 WS traffic. Although, Dave, there used to be an airport at the lakefront.
Really?
Until it got X'd out one night.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, Mayor
You're not thinking of Cleveland, because they have an airport.
Mayor Chucky took some bulldozers to it.
I read about that in one of the newspapers.
Thank you, Dave. 9:16, John and Jake here talking about the debate last night. Your thoughts? Let's go to the phones, John. Ann in Cherville, good morning.
Good morning. The only way Biden did well during the debates, because I listened to it only on WLS, is if his Depends held up during his hysterical laughing.
Really?
Hello?
Well, I'm just trying to. The visual that you just painted of Biden wearing Depends, I don't think I'm going to be able to get that out of my mind.
And let me put it to you this way: a few minutes ago, I had a cup of coffee and everything bagel with cream cheese and chives. Okay, and then you did this. Thank you, Ann. You're barred from WLS for life.
Oh no!
No. I'm just joking.
Thanks,
Please
Ann.
call.
Bye-bye. Let's go to Krista Wake Marsh. You're on 89 WLS.
Hi, good morning. I have 2 points that I'd like to make. Joe Biden may be a seasoned politician, but he has become a career politician. And many of us want the career politicians out. He's just part of the good old boy club, and we want the young, bold, vibrant politicians coming back into Washington, D.C. that have fresh, new ideas. And that's what Ryan is trying to present, our new ideas. My second point is... Hold on a second. I had a sneeze coming. Well, anyway.
I bless you.
Bless you, my child. Well,
you know
did you think? What did you think of Biden's laughter and
I thought
mugging?
that was my second point. He was very rude. He was very disrespectful. He was very condescending. And I want to bring up the point that when Bush debated Gore, and Gore sat there and sighed heavily throughout the entire debate, he lost a lot of votes for that. And that's how I feel about this. You know, you can have a debate, but to be rude and disrespectful like that to your opponent is unacceptable.
Thank you, Marsha.
There was a point with all the mugging and facial twisting and everything. I'm an old Star Trek fan. I'm a nerd original Star Trek guy. And there was this one episode where Jim Kirk's body was taken over by his former girlfriend, and she was kind of weird and evil. And so he was talking like an evil former girlfriend out of Jim Kirk. And I thought it kind of reminded me of that. We call it the Lester experience, and he's just mugging, facial twits, grinning, nodding. It was just kind of bizarre and frightening.
Tony and McHenry. Good morning, Tony. Tony? Going once, going twice? Gone. Tony's gone. Let's go to Marianne in Wooddale.
Good morning.
Good morning, Marianne.
You know, I am so pleased that the two of you are the only ones that brought up the fact that Ryan was debating Martha Raddatz and Chuckles, both of them simultaneously. The only ones that picked up on that. You two are terrific.
And I didn't even watch the whole 90 minutes. That's how good I am.
And that's why you listen to WLS and read me 4 times a week in the Trip. Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry that I did watch it all because it was awful. Anyway, have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Marianne.
And Marianne is not my mom. I'm just telling you.
Verlin in Chicago. Good morning, Verlin.
How you doing?
Hey, Vern.
I just wanted to tell you guys, man, y'all, I'm just going to keep it real. Y'all guys are coming off like some hypocrites. Romney did the exact same thing to Obama and cut him off and overtalked him, and y'all said it was all so glorious and he put him in his place. But Obama did the same thing Ryan did. He was poised, he was presidential, and he was talking about substance.
Not as much as last night, Verlin.
Well, it was the same thing. He was very respectful and let Romney do all the stuff that Joe Biden did.
No, listen.
And Joe Biden was talking about substance, and he was talking to the regular, average, everyday Joe. And I think when as this week goes on, he's gonna push the bump up for Obama, and he's gonna turn out to be the true winner.
Vernon,
all these little flash polls and everything else.
Vernon, do you think that if President Obama starts making faces and smiling and sighing and laughing when Romney's talking about a nuclear Iran, would that be good for President Obama to do?
No, that's why he didn't do it the first time, because he would have came off as an angry black man or somebody with a bad attitude.
Hey, Verlin.
That's why he didn't do it.
Verlin, the president didn't show up for the debate last week. That's the problem. That's the bottom line. He didn't show up.
But he didn't know that he was going to get done like that. He thought that we was going to start off at a slower pace, and he never caught up. That was the only problem. But guess what?
He never caught up. He didn't show up.
It was Duran Leonard 1. Okay, he got hit by a left hook. He didn't like it, and he kept moving away for the whole.
He wasn't prepared. It was the altitude.
You remember that fight?
It was everything. It's 9:21. That's what it is.
89 WLS.
This Saturday, the Fighting Irish versus the Cardinal of Stamford. Join me, Chet Kopic, at 12:30 for all things Fighting Irish, right here on 89 WLS.
Well, we weren't told they wanted more security again. We did not know they wanted more security again. And by the way, at the time, we were told we said exactly what the intelligence community told us that they knew. That was the assessment.
9:27.
Jake Hartford and John Cass in for Bruce and Dan on WLS 8900. We've got calls about the debate.
Let's get to him. Vince in Chicago. You're on 89 WLS, Vince.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Listen, if you listen to that debate on radio and watched it on TV, you'd think there were two different winners. Agree or disagree?
Well, that's what I said when we first started this hour. Yeah.
Because I think it's much better if you listen to it on the radio. You can't see their facial expression, their hands, and I think you just learn more, even though it's the same answers. And I think on radio, Biden won, and on TV, he lost.
He lost because of making the crazy faces?
Crazy faces, throwing his hands up in the air, holding onto his pen. And I'd like the two of them were writing notes, they're writing notes as soon as somebody would say something. They were just writing down notes. I think they should have the debate on TV, and just have them not look at each other.
Did you
It'd be
notice?
much better.
Did you notice how Ryan drinks his water?
And he was drinking a lot of that water.
Well, when he picks up the glass, he doesn't put his hands around the glass. He puts his hands kind of over the top of the glass and
and
drinks.
watching it on TV, the moderator, she had her back to us. That was terrible.
Well, did you see her face? She looked like she had been sucking a dozen. She looked like she had been sucking a dozen lemons right before the broadcast. She looked
no,
angry.
no. You're so wrong. It was lemons when she looked at Ryan, and it was chocolate cake when she looked at.
She just had a sour
Biden.
face the whole time.
Not with Biden, only with
No,
Ryan.
she had lemon face with him too.
Oh, come on!
Now,
She
who
didn't tell him.
Seriously, who determines what side they sit on, the left or right? Because that has a lot to do with the debate too.
I think they flip a coin and stuff, and that's what I said earlier about the camera angles. The way the camera angles were, they didn't look like they were looking at each other. They looked like they were looking to the sides.
When they had that split screen, it looked like they were looking at each other. Is what they tried to make you think.
I just think that when people talk about nuclear Iran, we should all laugh because it's funny.
It's not funny though.
Thank you, Vince.
All right. You know, it'll be interesting over the weekend to see how the newspapers spin this thing, what they pick up out of it and what they don't. Because right now we're in that undeclared phase right now.
By Monday, they'll forget about this because Tuesday's the next presidential debate. And that's
they might forget about it, but you'll be able to see now how they're going to work on the next moderator to handle the next debate, and whether it's going to be another one of you got to shut up Romney or push him around or tell him to stop and let Obama be Obama.
9:30, that's John Cass. I'm Jay Cartford. We'll get back to more of your calls at 591-8900. But right now, it's time for Dave Stewart with news, weather, traffic on 89 WLS.
Get the latest on the race from your Common Sense election headquarters, 89 WLS.
9:36, want to remind you that so much happens while you're at work each day. Rowan Roper wrap it all up with some big-name guests, news, traffic, and some laughs. Afternoons 2 to 6 on Chicago's Talk Leader, 89 WLS.
Well, we saw the debate. We've got a lot of calls. I just wanted to make one observation.
Another one? You're doing a lot of observations.
You know what? You know, Jake, because that's what I get paid for, because I don't have an opinion. That's why I read a column. But
on page 2 of the Tribune, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, but who's plugging?
When I'm not talking about soccer. Remember the guy called and said soccer sucks yesterday. But it's the Grandpa Simpson thing. I wonder, wouldn't young voters look at Joe Biden as some kind of old geezer telling them what to do?
Careful of the apple pie on the seat. Uh-oh! Grandpa, are you sitting on the pie?
I sure hope so.
See, people forget he used to be a young guy in Congress. I mean, he was a young guy at one point.
Yeah.
At one of the, the fresh face and all that stuff. And these guys, they get in there and then they become the old face.
And then, but their teeth stay the same. Do you ever notice that? That he's got Mr. Ed teeth. I just have to say that. And I'm not being nonpartisan here. Those are the biggest set of choppers I've seen since Mr. Ed.
Since that Bucky movie? Remember that Bucky? What was that Bucky?
Oh, Wilbur.
Bob on his way to Iowa. Good morning, Bob.
Hey, good morning, folks. Yeah, I sat out in my truck last night and listened to the debate, and then afterwards I had to go inside the terminal and get on the blood pressure machine and check things out. So didn't like my numbers after the debate, but just when things kicked off right away, the first question that was asked, and I wanted to kind of hear wanted to hear it again or something, but it just seemed like Biden completely dodged the whole thing, and nothing in his 2 minutes or whatever ever had anything pertain to the question.
You mean the one about Libya or what? What question?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the opening question. I was just blown away and taken away. And like I said, there was nothing there in his answer that had anything to do with it.
You'd think if Martha Raddatz was that tough a reporter, she'd know a news story when she saw it. And when he dumps on the State Department, you'd think that she'd press him on it, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in the next hour. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, that was a lot of stuff, yeah. And I got young voters in my family, 18 to 26, and they're just all discouraged with it.
Thank you.
They pay their...
Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah, that's there was something yesterday with him where he would start to talk, and he wasn't like getting out the full I don't know if it was shorthand or like the 47% when he first started with that.
You're talking Biden. I thought
yeah.
Biden did a good job getting that stuff out.
But I think not everybody knows that.
I think that the problem was that the other guy, Ryan, was trying to have a serious foreign policy discussion, and it's layered and it's contextual. It's not easy, and it's like trying to talk about complicated things with a drunk at a wedding. And you're like, and he's like, and the Sox suck or the Cubs suck, and you're like, okay, man, have another drink.
Well, there was the one point last night they were talking about Medicare, Social Security, and Ryan was trying to defend the fact that he wasn't going to throw Granny over the cliff and stuff like that.
Wheeler,
you can't make changes.
Wheelchair.
People have to have. You promised them this age and whatever you can't change. But then Biden told a story back in '83. When it was him and Tip O'Neill and Reagan in the room, and they changed the age of Social Security, and then it didn't go anywhere from there.
And then
he was like making the point for Ryan that you can change, you can make changes to federal programs. I didn't understand it. Mark in Northbrook. Good morning, Mark. You're on 89 WLS.
Guys, how are you?
What's up?
Hey, two things real quick, just on a lighter side. I think Joe Biden was doing a toothpaste commercial last night. For Pearl White toothpaste or something. Look at my beautiful white teeth. I mean, with the hair and the teeth, I can't not look at anything else. I mean, it's just like. Anyways, I have to tell you something. The one thing that got proven last night that there is no way Biden, Obama, and this administration will ever be able to work on a bipartisan level. If you don't agree with them, you're going to be demonized. You are going to have your name slammed. They're going to slam you in every way they can. They don't care about anything except what they believe in. They don't want to listen to what the American people believe in. Joe Biden was completely convinced that the fault was all in the hands of our intelligence. I mean, for him to sit there and lie to the American people, and within the first 2 minutes of that debate, I have to believe he lost a lot of people.
Well,
there's no credibility in anything that comes out of his mouth.
We're going to talk about that at the top of the next hour.
I hope you stay tuned because we've got some good stuff on it.
Let's go to Prospect Heights. Peggy, good morning, Peggy.
Good morning. How are you?
Peggy.
Love your show.
Thanks, Peg.
I just wanted to mention, we had a thought when I was watching with my family last night that, there's a lot being said about the disrespect toward Mr. Ryan, but what about us citizens that are watching in seriousness, trying to make a good decision? And it's a really important election. I just thought, the mockery and the way the vice president conducted himself, unworthy of the office and wrong for us. They underestimate our intelligence.
I mean, do you think if you gave Biden and Ryan 8 hours, put them on TV with, short breaks for, to go to the washroom and stuff like that, and said, we want you just to talk about, say, Medicare, do you think you would learn anything more after 8 hours than you did last night?
It was such a runaround. I mean, I became disoriented with all the. Finally, when there were only 2 words coming out at a time, and then an interruption, I had you become dizzy. You couldn't even follow. You do feel like you're not getting to the meat of it.
It's all about yelling and blaming the other guy, and
as the previous caller said, I have to agree. It does look like they play well with others. I do have concerns about what could be different.
Well, Peggy, Peggy, one of the points Peggy makes is backed up by a CNN poll that was taken right after the debate, in which people did not like the mugging, the facial expressions, and that sort of thing. They thought they didn't like it. And if you're really interested if you haven't made up your mind, all 3 people who haven't, they could sway you.
Well, our older son, who liked Obama 4 years ago, doesn't like him now, and he isn't really big on Romney either. And he's a kid. So
you know what? Of the 2, I have one that's kind of like that too, because they see the future as they don't see a future for themselves.
Exactly,
and they're not going to buy into they're not smoking opium like the kids 4 years ago.
And they hear this stuff like last night, and they go, "What? Neither side is really discussing. They're just yelling at each other."
They want to know that they're going to have a job and make some money.
9:44. Back after this.
89 WLS.
This Saturday, the Fighting Irish versus the Cardinal of Stamford. Join me, Chet Kopic, at 12:30 for all things Fighting Irish right here on 89 WLS.
9:51, John Cass, Jake Hartford, in for Bruce and Dan.
We've got some calls coming in on the debate. Let's take some.
Preston on the west side. Good morning, Preston.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I'm an independent voter. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican.
Who'd you vote for in the last election?
I voted for Barack Obama.
Okay.
But I'm probably not going to vote for him this year. But anyway.
Why not?
Foreign policy issues. I don't like his foreign policy, and I don't like some of the other things he did that his administration is doing. But about last night's debate, one of the key issues that I think Biden scored points on was the stimulus package that the president issued. Not only did Mr. Ryan write Vice President Biden and ask him for some money for his constituents, you know what I'm saying, he took the money. So to sit up here and criticize the president for something, I don't agree with the banks getting bailed out. I agree with bailing out GM, helping GM, because I own a GM. I own a car, automobile.
How GM, that came up yesterday. GM's still alive. How many jobs did that save when they bailed out GM? Do you know?
I would say thousands of jobs. I mean, people need parts for their cars. People need to make cars. We don't need to be dependent on Americans. Don't need to be dependent on Toyota and all these foreign companies coming into America. We need to build GMs, man. We need to build Fords, and we need to build GMs.
Hey, Preston, if I told you that 2/3 of jobs with GM are outside the United States, would you believe me?
Of course I believe that. That's how all the jobs get outsourced. This isn't something new, man. I mean, I'm 41 years old. I haven't been around a long time, but I've been around enough. I know that jobs have been leaving America for years. This is not something new.
So wait a minute. So Preston, so I understand this. We saved GM, but it's okay for them to outsource the jobs outside the United States.
No, it's not okay, and it's not okay for you to be charged a teller fee to see a teller to put money in the bank account either. But the banks got bailed out. That's my point, and it's also not good for American soldiers to be on the front line getting suicide bombed over in Afghanistan, and we got problems. People can't even walk down the street in Chicago without getting murdered. Man, I mean, we trained the Afghan soldiers. Let them go out there and fight the fight. When black people was fighting for civil rights here, we was getting lynched, burned alive, raped, all kind of stuff, man.
So they should come. So they should come home now rather than stay another couple years.
No one came over here and helped black people. Let those people over there figure it out. We trained them. You got enough equipment. You got enough training. We need to get the hell out of there, man.
Thank you, Vern. 9:54 back after this. I know, John.
89. Bruce Wolf and Dan Proft, Chicago's talk leader, 89 WLS.
9:58. In the next hour, we're gonna continue talking a little bit about the debates. We're gonna get a little bit into Libya and the Middle East and some of the stuff that came up last night.
Because Biden made some news. He basically made some startling news that should be more. It's more important than his facial expressions or his teeth.
Yeah. Hey, we made news yesterday, thanks to you, the listeners. As you know, 48 hours ago, there was talk of taxing the suburbanites coming in to work who work in Chicago. We talked about this yesterday, and even though I was going to get us a good deal at 8%, apparently that's not going to happen.
Fabulous.
The mayor sat down with our own Bill Cameron yesterday, and Bill asked him about it, and the mayor says, nope, that's not going to happen.
But you know what, Jake? We have to have our own segment in which Jake and John take credit for everything. We got to have a regular feature because we should take credit for that. We stopped it.
And even though in the big picture, yes, we stopped it, on my own personal feelings.
Oh, you're going to take more credit now?
No.
I thought we were partners here.
I feel bad because I thought my plan that I've had for 10 years of putting the toll basket on people coming into Chicago on the Kennedy, apparently that's not going to happen now. So I'll lose that in order for the greater good of the people.
See how noble you are? That's amazing.
Anyway, we come back. We're going to continue to take your calls. John Cass, Jake Hartford, in for Bruce and Dan, who are in for Don and Roma right here on 89 WLS.